Well, good morning and welcome to Church in the Basement. How you all doing? You good? Woo! You guys are pumped up today. I like it. Hey, wasn't the worship amazing this morning? Wasn't it so good? Every single week. I asked Bo this week if I could be a part of the band, and he said no. No, I'm kidding. But those guys are just so talented. And if you're new here, this is your first time with us, my name is Joel, and I'm not in the band. But I am the speaker, and they do let me speak from time to time, and so I'm so excited that you're hanging out with us, and we are talking about all the feels. And this is week 5, you guys. Anybody you're 5 for 5? You've been to all 5? Oh, wow. I'd give you something. I don't got anything, all right? But for 5 weeks, we've been saying we got to deal with the feels so that the feels don't deal with us. And for 5 weeks, somebody has joined us on Facebook, and that is Lindsay Huster. And we have a picture of Lindsay we'll throw up on the screen. This is Lindsay. Yeah. Lindsay is from Bristol, Pennsylvania. You know it? You got some of you know it? I don't know where it is, right? You know, all right, there you go. So that's where she is from. And this is what's so cool about Lindsay. A few months ago, we got a message on Facebook from Lindsay, and she asked if we could add closed captioning to our videos. And I found out that without the use of hearing aids, Lindsay's actually deaf, but she wants to be part of our online family. And so we looked into it, and now our videos have closed captioning so that Lindsay and anybody in the deaf community can be a part of our online family. So I think that's so cool. So Lindsay, thank you for making us better. And you're getting a shout out today. And here's what I want us all to do on 3. On 3, I want everybody to hold up the We Love You sign in sign language. And then you're just going to say, thanks, Lindsay, because Lindsay's making us better. So the We Love You sign in sign language and thanks, Lindsay. So go ahead and do this. All right. Say thanks, Lindsay on 3. 1, 2, 3. Thanks, Lindsay. Woo! I love that. So cool. Hey, to start out today's topic, I got a question for you all. I like to always start out with a question. And I wonder how many of you in the room are like me and you're a world-class worrier. Like you worry. If there is something to worry about, you worry. Where are your hands at? Let me see your hands. Oh, that's worse than I thought. Hey, did anybody not raise their hand because you were worried I might call on you in church? That would be a next level worry. But I am a world-class worrier. If there was a PhD in worry, I would have it. If I had a diploma for my PhD in worry, all right, if I put it on the wall, I would be worried I didn't get in the stud. All right, I just worry about everything. I worry that I'm going to lose my car keys. I worry about cavities. That Mountain Dew will worry you, all right? I worry about having high blood pressure. So I go to the gym, but when I'm at the gym, I'm worried that the person who used the machine before me wiped their flu all over the machine. I worry about mayonnaise being on sandwiches. I worry that my phone battery is dying right now. Okay, that's why I don't put the percentage thing on it because it just worries me the whole time. I worry that one of you all are going to invite me over for dinner and try to feed me meatloaf. Don't do it. Listen, meat deserves better than me turning into a loaf. Okay, that's not doing it justice. I worry that my iPad notes aren't going to work. And so for 6.5 years, I have printed off my notes and put them under my seat. And for 6.5 years, I have never had to use these. But today could be the day, people. I am worried. And I thought about preaching this message without these, just to prove a point. I am not ready for that. Okay, so I'm a world-class warrior, and it's in my blood. All right, it is in my family. In my family, my Mom Jones was the queen warrior. And so just so you can kind of get to know who my Mom Jones was, my Mom Jones, when I was a kid growing up, she had this farmhouse that still had the outhouse. That's true. The other thing about my Mom Jones is there was this legend that she had a pet rooster that would attack you. And in my mind, the pet rooster lived in the outhouse. And the third thing about my Mom Jones is in the 90s and the 2000s, she still owned her mint 1967 Chevy Impala. Come on, somebody. Who needs modern day plumbing when you got a Chevy Impala in the driveway, people? Priorities, Mom Jones. But my mom was always worried, okay? And so, like, I remember occasionally we would go to, like, pick her up at her house when she didn't want to, like, ride around town in her muscle car. And so we would go pick her up. First thing she would do when she would come out of the house, she would be clutching her purse. Like we were the IRS or something. Like, just like... If she played in the NFL and was a running back, she would have never fumbled. Like, she had a death grip on her purse. And she would come out of her house and she would shuffle out of her house. And she would shuffle towards the car. And we're sitting in the car, and she would almost get to the car. And she stopped. And she turned around. And then she shuffled back to the house. And she looked in the window. And then she turned around, still clutching the purse. And she'd shuffle back to the car. Almost get to the car. But then she stopped. And she turned around. And she shuffled back to the house, and she looked in the window. And this was going like 3 times in a row. And I'm thinking, like, what is going on, Granny Jones? But I wouldn't get out of the car to ask her that because there was a rooster in the outhouse waiting to attack me. And I was worried about it. But the reason she would shuffle back and forth to her house to look in the window is she was worried that she left her stove on. And that it was going to burn the house down. It was going to burn the outhouse down. It was going to burn it all down. And I was worried about the rooster, and I was always thinking, you know where a good place for that rooster would be? In that stove. But Granny Jones was a world-class warrior. I didn't fall far from the tree. How many of you, again, just one more time, are world-class warriors? You're worried, you're worried, you're worried. Okay, some of you, yeah, over here. There's been a lot of pointing, like a lot of worrying over here. I feel it. And so here's what I think worry is. I think worry is just concern gone bad. Now, concern isn't all bad. You know, like concern kept the stove from burning the outhouse down. Concern kept me away from the outhouse and the rooster, okay? Concern isn't all bad. So it's okay if you're concerned about your family and your friends and your job and your health and your teenager that's driving the family minivan. You know, it's got like novice driver stickers all over. I saw one the other day. It looked like a NASCAR. The number of stickers on the car. I'm like, that is a novice driver, and I'm worried about it. I'm moving over. But it's okay to be concerned about some things because concern means you care. And that's good. You should care. But concern goes bad when we worry about things that we can't control. Have you ever done that? We worry about things that we can't control. And when that happens, worry starts to control who? Us, right? And so worry, I hit my chest pretty hard there, actually. I think I was going to have like a heart palpitation. Anyway, that wasn't in my notes. But here's what I think worry is. If you're kind of like trying to like think about what is this worry that I deal with, listen, worry is when we try to take responsibility for things that God never intended for us to take responsibility for. It's when we try to take responsibility for things that God never intended for us to take responsibility for, okay? And so how many of you know, though, that there's a lot, again, that we just can't control? How many know you just can't control everything? Did anybody try to raise your husband's hand right then? No, there's so much we can't control. You can't control the economy. Did you see this week? Hello. We can't control our family health history. We can't control traffic. Anybody take 24 this morning? Oh, Lord help us all. You can't control your adult children, and I know that because I can't control my 4-year-old. And so worry is when we try to take responsibility for things that God never intended for us to take responsibility for. And here's what being a world-class warrior has taught me, and we'll throw this on the screen, is that worry never fixes tomorrow, and it always ruins today. Worry never fixes tomorrow, and it always ruins today. And if you want to have a Sunday fun day, you don't want worry to ruin your day. So I'm going to talk about some things that we can do so that it doesn't ruin, worry doesn't ruin your day today. If you brought your Bibles, you can head to 2 Kings chapter 6. And if you didn't bring your Bibles, no worries. It'll be on the screen in just a moment. But last weekend, we talked about a guy named Elijah. Everybody say Elijah. All right. Today, we're going to talk about his brother from another mother, Elisha. Everybody say Elijah. That's it. You guys saw Elijah. We're talking about Elisha. Now, Elisha, if you're wondering who this guy is with a weird "sha" in his name, he is an Old Testament prophet and probably the greatest Old Testament prophet of all time. And what's cool about the Old Testament prophets is like they had these God-given like superpowers. Like Elijah could run faster than a chariot. Isaiah, another prophet, he could look like 700 years into the future. And Elisha, he had like a spidey sense. See, this stuff is in the Bible, okay? If you're not reading it, it's like the Avengers people. All right, it's amazing what's going on in here. And so to set this story up, the Israelites are walking through the promised land, and there was this group of raiders, this army of raiders really, led by the king of Aram. Everybody say the king of Aram. All right, not as much enthusiasm, but that's okay. He's the bad king, so it's okay. And what he was doing is he was trying to get the Israelites, and so he would try to sneak up on the Israelites, him and his army, and try to raid them. But every single time that this army would get close to the Israelites, Elisha's spidey sense would go off, and he'd be like, all right, we got to get in the 1967 Chevy Impala, and we need to move. And so they would all move somewhere else, and this army could never get their hands on this group of people, the Israelites, because of the spidey sense. And so the king of Aram was not happy about this. And he's like, how do they always know we are coming? And his people were like, because they have Elisha. And Elisha has the spidey sense. And so the king of Aram was like, that's it. All right, it's Elisha. We will take care of Elisha. And so one night, they snuck up on Elisha and his servant's tent, and they surrounded the entire tent. And that's where we pick up. It's the next morning after this army has surrounded their tent. And it says this in verse 15. When the servant of the man of God, the man of God is Elisha, when his servant got up early the next morning and went outside, there were troops, horses, and chariots where? Everywhere. Everybody say, this is not good. So they are everywhere. And oh, sir, what will we do now? The young man cried to Elisha. So here's the point. They are surrounded. Now, if I'm surrounded by an entire army, I'm worried. Are you worried? Look, I'm worried. I'm guessing they're probably worried. I'm pretty sure Granny Jones is worried. Everybody should be worried because they are surrounded. And have you ever been in a place in life where you feel like you're surrounded? You feel like your life is under attack. Your happiness is under attack. Your health is under attack. Your job is under attack. Your eHarmony inbox is under attack. Like, who are these people? They own too many cats to be sending me inbox messages. Sorry, I wasn't going to make cat jokes in 2020. Anyway, I did. Let's move on. So, anyway, when we worry, our spidey sense goes off and says, worry. And then we ask the question that this guy asked, what will we do now? And so I want to give you 3 things that you can do now if you're a world-class warrior like myself. And so if you're taking notes, the first thing that you can do when you're worried is to act on your concern. Act on your concern. So right now, me and my family are all living with my parents because Bo Dukes is not only our worship leader, he's also building my house, baby. And so when I say we moved in with my parents, I mean like we all moved in with my parents. Like me, Stacy, the kids, the dog, the family minivan. We brought it all over. And speaking of worry, can you imagine how worried my parents must have been when the family minivan showed up in their driveway? Like, hey, Mom and Dad, we're going to be here for a while. You know that song, I'll Be Home for Christmas? Yeah, I'm like, I'll be home for Christmas. I'll be home for President's Day. I'll probably be home for 4th of July. I don't know, Mom. Like, I'm going to be here a long time. But it's all been good. There's only been like one thing that's not been good, and it has to do with my dog. I talk about my dog a lot, but my dog Eli is 84 in doggy years. And he's at the age where he just doesn't care. You know, like when I used to come home from work, he would meet me at the door. He would get so excited when I'd pet him that he'd pee a little bit. Some of you are like, when I get excited, I pee a little bit too. Too much information. Anyway, but Eli, he's 84. When I come home from work, he does not meet me at the door anymore. He just looks up off the couch, and he's like, why you got to be waking me up? I just need to take a nap, okay? And so he doesn't care. He's at that age where, like, when we got to the house, I think in his mind, he was like, I don't care whose house this was. This is my house now when we moved around with my parents. And he started, like, marking his territory. And so I had to have a talk with my dog. I'm like, Eli, you can't be like peeing in my mom's house because like we're gonna be homeless, buddy. And so my wife Stacy got so worried about this that she went on Amazon and she found some doggy diapers for Eli. And of course, I had to like film it the first time we installed his first doggy diaper. Do you want to see? You want to see this? Okay, here's just a moment in my house right here. He's already got his jacket on. Oh, that looks good. Is it jean material?
No.
You got your
like,
jeans on, Eli?
You got your Depends, but
it's a little.
your date like
You have your jeans on. Don't take it off. Take your jeans.
Eli, you got your jeans on. That is called acting on your concern, baby. and if you're here and you're like, I would never put a diaper on my dog. Who would say I would never put a diaper on my dog? You would never do it? Okay, a few of you. Listen, that's exactly what I said. And now I'm like the one like, hey, Eli, you want your jean material on today? You want your zebra print? Like, what are you feeling? What style are you feeling today? I'm that dog owner now. But anyway, sometimes the best thing that you can do when you're worried about something is to do something. It's to take action. It's to act on your concern. It's to put a doggy diaper on your Chiweenie dog. And so, listen, sometimes we just got to act on our concern if it's something you can do something about. So let me tell you what I mean by that. We're going to put this slide up on the screen. And we in life, this kind of represents what's going on inside of us. We have these two circles. And first here on your right, you got this orange circle. You have your circle of concern. These are the things that you like care about in life. This is your family. These are your friends. This is your money, your health, your job, your Louis pizza, cheesesteak. Come on, somebody. You care about that. Yeah, we can clap for Louis. Okay, so this is just the stuff that you care about. And then on the left, you have your circle of control. These are the things in your life that you can, control. But then right in the middle, you have this overlap between what you are concerned about, what you care about, what you worry about, and what you can control. And so, like, there are some things that we can, like, do, and that's where it falls in this middle part. Like, I can put a doggy diaper on my Chiweenie. I can manage where my money is going, which is apparently on doggy diapers. But here's the thing. I think so many of us live way over here. We live way over here, and we're worried about stuff that we can't what? We can't control. Things like our family health history. I remember a few years ago, I was in Walmart, and I saw their little blood pressure test machine, and I was like, I should get my blood pressure checked in Walmart. And so I got on a little machine, and I didn't know if it would work. I didn't know if it was like an arcade thing. I didn't know how it worked. I pressed the button, and it went zzzz, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere for a while. And so I was just sitting there, and I was just watching people. If you ever don't have anything to do on a Saturday, you just go to Walmart and watch people, okay? Like, there's just entertainment for days. And so I'm just sitting there watching people. A couple minutes go by, and then the screen turns yellow, and it's like, congratulations, you have high blood pressure. I'm like, what? I don't have high blood pressure. You have high blood pressure, Walmart. And like, I run 700 miles a year. I'm like, I can't have high blood pressure. But then I thought about it. You know why I had high blood pressure? Because I was in Walmart. That'll give you some high blood pressure right there. But I came home, and like Stacy, she's a nurse, and so I was like, baby, can you check my blood pressure? And she checked it, and it was a little high, but it wasn't as high as it was in Walmart. But sometimes I'm worried about having high blood pressure because one of my parents' hobbies is to remind me that we have a family health history of high blood pressure and diabetes. Wednesday night, my parents sat me down because I live at their house, okay? And they're like, now, Joel, we have a history of diabetes and high blood pressure in our family. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you. I'm just going to go upstairs right now and worry about all this because I can't do anything about it. And so, like, every single time I eat like a Louis cheesesteak, I think here comes the blood pressure cuff. Every time, like, I think about a carb, I'm like, here comes the pillbox, Joel. It is coming. But guys, the genetic side of this, I can't what? I can't control. Okay, now there are some things that I can do. I can go to the gym. I can try to forget that Taco Bell has those nacho fries. Come on. I'm going to get high blood pressure just thinking about those. Anyway, I can't think about those. But my point is, there are certain things in our life that we can't control, and we worry about those things. And if this sounds like you right now, I just have a song for you. Let it go. Let it go. Turn away and slam the door. That's the rest of it. You don't know that part, but that's if you got kids, you know that part. But you can't control those things. Now, if something falls in here, do something. Act on your concern. But everything that falls like way over here or way over here, we got to trust God with those things. You know what I think the key to worry is? I think the key to worry is, and we'll put this on the screen, is to do what only you can do, and then to trust that God will do what only He can do. You got to do what only you can do, and then you got to trust that God will do what only He can do. Okay, only I can make better food choices. Only I can live on a budget and act my wage. Only I can put doggy diapers on my Chiweenie so I don't get kicked out of the house I'm living in. But other things that I can't do anything about, I got to trust God with, okay? Because I can't control my family health history. I can't control the fact that my 2007 Honda Civic engine blew up with 97,000 miles on it. And I can't control if my iPad decides to spontaneously combust right now. So I trust God with those things. Listen, you got to do the things that only you can do, and then trust that God will do what only He can do. Trust that He will do what only God can do, because worry never fixes tomorrow, and it always ruins today. So if you can, act on your concern. That'll help you worry a little bit less. Here's the second thing. Act on your concern. The second thing is this. You got to grow your perspective. Grow your perspective. So Granny Jones wasn't just worried about her house burning down and the outhouse burning down. Granny Jones was also worried about dying her entire life. Every single time, we would go, and this happened my entire childhood. Every single time we go to a family get together, I'd be like, "Hey, Mom Jones, Merry Christmas." And she would say, "Well, it might be Merry for you. Well, this is probably my last Christmas." And I'm 7 years old. I'm like, what does that mean, Mom and Dad? It didn't matter what holiday it was. "Hey, happy Thanksgiving, Mom Jones. Can I get you some pecan pie?" "Well, you better. Because this is my last chance to eat that pecan pie." And this happened when I was a little kid. This happened when I was a teenager. This happened in my 20s. The same thing. And I could never get around it. No matter what I did. If I okay, I'm going to try to avoid that from happening. I'll be like, "Hey, Mullen Jones, how's that Chevy Impala treating you?" "Well, it's good, grandson. But I think I'm on my last mile." Leaving Easter dinner. "You better give Granny a hug, because I'm not going to resurrect when I die. This is it for me." And listen, she said that for 25 years of my life. And for a while, I was really worried when she would say that. But after 25 years, she would say it, and I'd be like, "All right, cool." Granny Jones lived to be 89 years old. 89 years old. Yeah. But for 25 years, she was worried about something that didn't happen. Has that ever happened to you? Where you worry about something that might happen, but probably isn't going to happen? If there's a 10% chance of snow in Sussex County and you go into Giant, it is giant chaos. There is no bread. There is no milk. People are running around screaming, fighting over milk. What are we worried about? We're worried about what could happen. And sometimes we are so obsessed with what could happen that we miss out on what is actually happening in life. And so we, as a culture, we're obsessed with what could happen. This week in the news, all right, I love Apple News on my phone all week long. Every time I open it, I'm like, "Oh, no. This is not good. Oh, no, there's flu stuff, there's virus stuff. Oh, no, the market looks really bad." No lie. This week I saw an article that said that your kids, if you have kids, each kid from age 0 to 18 costs $250,000 a piece. That's how much it costs to raise them. Is anybody doing math calculations right now? I'm like, that is $500,000 for Pastor Tite. That is not good. Can you imagine Bo Dukes? Somebody should just hand our worship leader some money when you're leaving today. But I saw all these things on my phone this week, and the news is trying to sell us fear all day, every day. It's selling it to us. I remember like when the market in 2008 was just tanked. It was not good. You know, when your 401k looked like a 201k. You remember that time? All the news was like, oh no, this is the end of the world. This is the end. You need to like eat ramen noodles. You need to like buy a Prius for better gas mileage. This is it. It is over. All right. And in the last 10 years, forget this past week because things went haywire. But in the last 10 years, man, things went crazy, exploded. And I would see articles all the time in the good market that would say, oh no, things are so good. This is bad. It's too good. You better get some gold bars. You better get some ramen noodles. You better get a Prius for better gas mileage. It's so good, it's going to be bad. It's like, and we're obsessed with what could happen. But what if worry is it's just a matter of perspective? And here's what I mean by that. Let's jump back to the story with Elisha. And so, like, his assistant walks out of the tent, and he sees that he is surrounded by this giant army, and he's getting the Apple News notification, and he's like, oh, no, this is not good. And so then Elisha walks out, and here's what happens next in verses 16 and 17. Don't be afraid, Elisha told him. Wait, don't be afraid, Elijah. Did you not get the Apple News notification? It says, you is surrounded, you is going to die. What are you talking about? And he's like, don't be afraid. He says, for there are more on our side than on theirs. Guys, there's two of them. Giant army versus two. He's like, don't worry. There's more on our side than on their side. Then Elijah prayed, oh Lord, open his eyes, his assistant's eyes, and let him see. Now don't miss this. The Lord opened the young man's eyes, and when he looked up, he saw that the hillside around Elisha was filled with horses and chariots of fire. Now, let me just explain what just happened here. Elijah walks out. He sees this giant army surrounding him. But he sees beyond that army an even bigger army. And it is God's army and chariots of fire. And the assistant is like, oh no, they have horses. And Elisha's like, we got God's army. But the assistant's like, oh no, but they have chariots. And Elisha's like, but we got chariots of fire. And the assistant's like, but they have the king of Aram. Everybody say the king of Aram. But he's like, we have the King of Kings. And so I love this story because it reminds us that there is an even greater army fighting for you than anything that is fighting against you. There's a bigger army fighting for you than anything that's fighting against you. And one of the things that's interesting about this is every once in a while in here, like the veil kind of gets pulled back and we get a peek like behind the scenes. We get to see like what's happening in the spiritual world. And I don't want to like weird anybody out, but there is way more going on than what we see. And so like if you feel surrounded by your problems right now, if you feel like you're under attack with your worries right now, I just want you to know there is a greater army fighting for you than anything that's fighting against you. And you may not see it, but it is there. And so they're surrounded by God's army. And sometimes you got to grow your perspective and say, God, open my eyes so I can see your army that's fighting for me. Listen, worry is all a matter of perspective. And the bigger you realize your God is, the smaller your problems become. And when we just look at our problems, don't they get bigger? Don't they kind of like get like Godzilla, just get bigger? But when you keep looking at your God, the bigger he gets and the smaller our problems become. And so the size of our God shapes how you see the size of your problems. And so if you feel like you're surrounded right now, if you feel like you're under attack right now, I just want to remind you one more time that you are surrounded by God's army. And sometimes you just got to say, God, just grow my perspective. Help me to see. Help me to see. Lord, help me to see and grow my perspective. So when you can do something about your worry, act on your concern. The second thing is grow your perspective and see what you may not be able to see. And then the last thing is this, is to ask God for help. To ask God for help. So I saw this picture this week of this little girl's first day at school. And it's really funny. So there's two pictures here. So let me just show you the first picture. The first picture's not so funny. This is this little girl's first day of school. Doesn't she look cute? She's got her, her tie on. She's got the bow in. This is definitely a mother's work right here. Dad did not do this, right, Matt? Dad didn't do this. Maybe. I don't know. But this is her first day of school. And she's got to be like, oh, this is going to be awesome. First day of school, right? And then there's a picture of her at the end of the first day of school. And here's what she looked like. Have you ever had a day like this? You leave the house, you're like, I'm going to get it, man. It's going to be good. And you come home, you're like, this is bad. This is just bad. And some days are just hard, right? You ever had a hard day? Some days are hard. And whenever we're in like a hard season, that's when some well-meaning person will come up to you a lot of times and say, don't worry. God will never give you more than you can handle. Have you ever heard that before? We hear that, and like if you don't really know any better, you're like, oh, that's good. It makes me feel comforted. I got all the feels. Like it's good. Let me tell you, you can look at this whole thing, friends, and as comforting as that sounds, God will never give you more than you can handle. It's not in here. Welcome to Bayshore. We like to make you feel good about yourself. It's not in here. No, that's not in here. That's not in here. We won't be tempted more than we can handle, but God is in the business of giving us more than we can handle. That is something that God does on the regular. But here's the good news. This does say, I can do all things through Jesus who gives me help. This does say that. And so when you are like in the middle of something and you don't feel like you can handle it, the good news is God is the one who can get us through the things that we don't think we can handle on our own. And one of the best things that we can do when we don't think we can handle things on our own is in Philippians 4, 6 through 7. And some of you have heard that verse that I'm about to read, or this verse that I'm about to read for so long. Like, I'm going to read it out of the Message version, just so maybe you'll hear it for the first time again. And here's what Paul says in Philippians 4, 6 through 7. It says, let petitions and praises shape your worries into what? Shape your worries into prayers, letting God know your concerns. Before you know it, a sense of God's wholeness, everything coming together for good, will come and settle you down. Everybody say, settle me down. Listen, you know what worry is? Worry is your signal. It's your notification. It is your phone beeping. It is Siri saying, hey, pray. It's your phone saying, hey, phone home, E.T. It's your signal to just pray and pray and pray. Because when you feel like you're surrounded by your worries, prayer reminds us who we're really surrounded by. Prayer helps us see that God's army is who is really surrounding us and protecting us. This week I was putting my boy Nixon to bed, and everything you do with Nixon is an adventure. Okay, everything has some sort of story that comes attached to it because he's just, my boy is awesome. And my boy Nixon is also a little OCD, which may or may not have come from his father. Listen, I'm OCD, but here's my biggest issue with that phrase, OCD. It's not in alphabetical order. Like CDO would be like way better for my brain. But Nixon, there's a certain way things have to go. So when I put him to bed, there's a certain sequence. You have to put his blankets on. And so here's how it goes. You got to put the white blanket on first. Then you got to put the truck blanket on. And then you got to put the Lightning McQueen blanket on. If you don't do in that order, he will let you know. He will let you know. He will let my wife know. He'll let Facebook know. He'll let Granny Jones know. Everybody's going to know if I do it wrong. So like Wednesday night, every time I'm putting him to bed, I'm trying to concentrate really good. And so I'm like, okay, we're going to do the white blanket. I put the white blanket on. I'm like, nailed it. Then truck blanket, boom, nailed it. And then Lightning McQueen blanket, boom, nailed it. And then right before I walked out, as a bonus, I decided to put Buzz Lightyear in the bed with him. Because this is going to be good. All right, everybody needs a little Toy Story action figure in the bed. And so, I put the Buzz Lightyear all in the bed, and Nixon said, Daddy, no. I was like, what's wrong? You want Woody? Is Woody what you want? And he's like, no, Buzz Lightyear sits in that chair. I was like, oh, okay. And so I put Buzz Lightyear in the chair, and Nixon said, no, 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 no. You need to face him towards the door. And I'm like, okay. So I faced Buzz Lightyear towards the door, and I'm like, Nixon, why do we face Buzz Lightyear to the door? And he's like, because Buzz Lightyear will zap any stranger danger that comes through that door. He says he watches it all night long. I'm like, well, what about daddies? Does he take out daddies? Like, I don't know how this works. So anyway, I took a picture of how Buzz Lightyear is supposed to be positioned in the chair, just so in case you need to know. That's where Buzz Lightyear sits in Nixon's room. And here's the thing. He thinks that protects him, so he keeps it looking towards the door. And I just want you to know, you have something way greater, way better, way more powerful than Buzz Lightyear protecting your life. You have God and you have his army protecting you and looking towards the door of your greatest worries. And when you're worried, prayer is what reminds you that you have God's army, you have the King of Kings, and you have chariots of fire, not fighting against you, but fighting for you. And that is good news. That's what's fighting for you. And so as I wrap this up, let me ask you this. Are you worrying more than you're praying? Or are you praying more than you're worrying? Are you worrying more than you're praying? Or are you praying more than you're worrying? And I don't ask you that to make you feel bad. I ask you that because I want you to know that God is large and in charge. And he loves you and he is for you. And the reason I know that is because you are his kids. And he's just saying, hey, phone home, E.T. Because prayer is what helps us see who is actually fighting for us. Let me read you this. Psalm 34, 4-5 says this. Just such a beautiful psalm. It says, I prayed to the Lord, and he answered me. He freed me from all my fears. Those who look to him for help will be what? Radiant with joy. Ladies, I need every lady in the room. How many of you ladies, you want that radiant skin glow, baby? You want it? You want it? Come on, let me see your hands. Okay, there's a few people. Some of you are lying in church. You spent a lot of money on that radiant skincare glow, baby. And let me just tell you, you can do all the Mary Kay skincare cream. I don't know what I'm talking about, but like you can do all that. You can take all the vitamins. You can eat all the kale. You can put all the cucumbers and kale on your face, or I don't know what you all do. And you can get a little radiant skin glow. But I want to tell you, there's a radiance that money can't buy. There's a radiance that only comes from prayer, because only Jesus can free you from your fears. Only Jesus can make you radiant with joy. And we started out with these two circles. If we can put those two circles back up to end with. You know, in life, we have these circles of concern. We have these circles of control. And we think this is life. We think this is what it is. But I don't think this is an accurate picture of what's actually happening in our life. I think this is the more accurate picture of what's happening in our life. We have God that is surrounding our greatest concerns. And I just want to remind you that God is bigger and he is surrounding your greatest concerns. He is bigger than my greatest concerns. And if you feel like your life is out of control right now, I want to show you the one who is really actually in control. And he's the one who is surrounding you and fighting for you. And so when you're worried, act on your concern if you can. Then grow your perspective and see who's really surrounding you. And then ask for prayer. Ask God for help. Why? Because I prayed to the Lord and he answered me. He freed me from all my fears, and those who look to him for help will be radiant with joy. Everybody say, oh, you look more radiant every day. Come on, that was poor. Let's turn to the person next to you. You may not know him. This is going to be so weird. Just be like, you look more radiant every day. Some of you are getting dates at church. You're welcome, all right? Hey, let me pray for you guys. Jesus, I'm so thankful for stories like this in the Bible, because the reality is a lot of times we're the assistant that walks out of the tent and we're like, oh no, we are surrounded. We're surrounded by worry. We're surrounded by all these things. And a lot of times we're worried about things that we may not even be able to control. And so, God, I just pray that you'll remind us every time we worry that we can pray and we can come to you and we can act on our concern. We can do something about the things that are in our control. But, God, we need to trust you with the things that only you can do. And so, God, I just pray you'll grow our perspective. Help us know there's something even greater, something even bigger, something even grander than us fighting for us, and that is you. And, God, prayer reminds us of that. And so this week I pray that every time we worry, we'll be signaled to just pray. And you will just be there to be our peace. In your name, amen.